series, something which we have been doing for the last 3 years. We have done about 190 of these webinar series on contemporary issues. As you know, that EGROW Foundation or Foundation for Economic Growth and Welfare is a research-based policy think tank in NCR. We started in 2018 October, and our aim is to provide research-based policy advice to all the stakeholders, the government, or anybody who wants to get our advice. We started the research-based policy think tank basically to ensure that high-quality research on policy issues is undertaken in our country and then shared with the government. We've been very successful in that endeavor, and we have had an opportunity to do research for the government at different levels, including doing it for Niti Aayog. 3 years ago, when COVID started, we thought of doing this webinar series, and we wanted to bring a blend of Western scholars and Indian scholars. The objective was very clear. In India, we have a deep history of good scholars, and they should be able to talk and let the Western world know about it. And in the Western world, there are a large number of scholars who are doing good work on contemporary issues. Our Indian scholars should be able to interact with them and benefit from it. We have been very, very fortunate. We have been able to keep that blend very alive. We have had 2 Nobel laureates come and speak at our forum. We did one for T5 under the G20, and that was also fabulous. We did a series actually under G20. And then we thought there is something under G20 which we need to stress, and that is empowering women. And growing India needs to empower its women because they have a great potential in contributing to India's high growth and better development. There's research on that too, both at the IMF and at other places. Keeping that in mind, today's webinar continues that series of empowering women for India's growth and development in 2047. And today we are going to focus on education, something that would empower women. Now, given the topic, we thought we'll invite our scholars from across the country. So Professor Mandeep Kaur Kochar, I'll be introducing her to you. She will be chairing the session, and then she's from Bombay. And quite a bit of education from North. Professor Noor, who's from Bangalore. And then we have Professor Vijaya, who's from also Bangalore. So Professor Mandeep would introduce her panel to all of you. I would simply say that we are very fortunate that we have 3 of you joining us to discuss on this very, very important topic. Professor Mandeep Kaur Kochar, she is chairing the session today. She began her professional career in 1995 from Bombay Teachers Training College, Kolaba. And she's right now a professor and is designated as Vice Principal University Affairs in her university. She's the coordinator of Early Childhood Education Program also. And since 2004, so she's been working extensively on these issues. She is recognized research guide for PhD with Pacific Academy of Higher Education and Research, Pacific University, Udaipur, University of Bombay, and HSNC University. Most students have successfully completed PhD under her able guidance. The subjects taught by her are educational psychology, teaching of economics and commerce, inclusive education, economics of education and educational research. She conducts various seminars and workshops for pre-service and in-service teachers during refresher courses at school and university level on creativity in education, effective teaching, mind management, constructivism in classroom, multitasking, a myth or reality. She has authored 3 reference books, and various research papers in the international national educational journals and regional newspapers. She is on the editorial board for educational journals and magazines and reviewer for PhD thesis at university level. She is also devout Sikh. She has contributed significantly to the literature in Sikh community. She publishes extensively and she lives with the motto that Guru Nanak taught us: earn with dignity and serve with compassion. With this brief introduction, I would now like to hand over the session to Professor Mandeep Kochar to conduct the proceedings further. Professor.
Thank you, Dr. Chatterjee. Is the sound clear? Okay.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you so much for this introduction and humble welcome to the webinars. I must congratulate Dr. Charan Singh extensively is putting so much efforts for all these webinars and always inviting and putting the scholars together. So congratulations first of all to you, and looking forward for more such meetings. And the topic which is given to us for today: empowering women through education. So being uh, in the field of education since long and being an educationist, I consider that we as women, we should put up this point and this thought forward, that if we have to empower women, what role education can be playing in the whole process. We, the educated women, must hold the responsibility of empowering other women, because we, if had been the privileged ones, what should be our role for reaching to that target where we can say woman is educated, and only educated women can complete the circle for complete development. So I'm just reading some statistics before I take up my document for today. It's not any presentation, but some points which I look forward that I can be talking and discussing in this session. In India, the unemployment rate has uh, the people who are unemployed between, or you can say below the age of 25%, sorry, 25 the age, 42.3% is the statistical data which we can be uh, taking into consideration. And this data, the percentage further has enhanced from 2017 to 18 and 21 to 22, and in 23 the report, the Azim Premji University presents this report of unemployment percentage between the age of 25 to 40. Now what does that actually mean? We are giving education, but people are not getting, employability is not there. People are not having those skills which can give them employment. So even if education is provided, but education in return is not bringing them employment or their livelihood, which is a call which we can consider it is a dangerous call, and we need to pay attention to that. So I am sharing a document with you where I feel that some of the points which I have prepared, and uh, I think the host has to give me sharing rights, Dr. Charan Singh, if you can. Yes. So, what I am wanting to present before you all is what actually is the meaning of, empowerment. So doesn't matter, I'll just consider it otherwise only till I get the voting right, the sharing rights. So according to me,
We'll send you the rights immediately. Vivek, can you please
okay,
make sure
sir,
she
thank
has the
you.
rights?
Definition of empowerment. Now, when I consider the definition of empowerment, I felt I should be considering it from all the angles where I feel qualitative empowerment and quantitative empowerment. Now, what do we mean by empowerment actually? Empowering woman where she has her rights to take the decision, even if she is less qualified, even if her qualification is not bringing her enough employment. She is a homemaker. We have actually just changed the term from a housewife to homemaker. But uh, enough homemaker also is contributing in the development of humanity. So qualitative and quantitative, this is what I felt that no, it's still not. The icon is not getting green, so I am unable to share. So anyway, I will not I will continue. I will not take much time. So what I am
Pro-
wanting to, sir, should
Professor,
I
do you
send it
want
to,
to?
Given the sharing
Yeah,
rights,
yeah,
please try it.
please, you could send us the PPT. We will run it for you from here in case of
okay, sir,
any
it is actually,
confusion.
yeah, Vivek is in touch with me. I am sending it to Vivek only. Vivek, I'm just sending you the document. So you can show that on the slide. That only will be sufficient for
Okay,
me.
ma'am.
Just a moment. Check, you must have got something. So this is sufficient that I just want to run through those points as quickly, and because other speakers also have to present their viewpoint. So when we talk about women empowerment, my viewpoint over here is quality and quantity. Now, when we talk about quantity, which means visibly women should be there in the system. Visibly, women should be in numbers where we can say gender equality. So now when we talk about gender equality, that means women also is equally educated. So quantity, when we say quantity, that means in numbers men also equally qualified and women also equally qualified, and we have status of women in the society where we talk about yes, thank you so much for this slide. Quantity and quality, when we
मैम
talk
क्या है
about,
डेफिनेशन ऑफ एम्पावरमेंट?
so Vivek, can you enlarge it little on screen? Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's enough. So see, the if you see the right hand side of the screen, if gender equality is not there, empowerment finishes over there, it ends over there. That means equality is not there, education is not there, women is not visible. So not much visibility of women in the whole system itself says gender equality is not there, which means progress or progressive change is not equal. So that is why as much education is given to one sector of the society, that is male sector, similarly education should be given to the women also. That's what one empowerment we can be talking about. Over a period of time, we are talking enough, we are talking about women empowerment, we are talking about equality, gender equality also. Lot many seminars, concerns has been taken into consideration. But what actually we are looking at, what actually we are wanting to be either changing or bringing the change, that is our quality empowerment. Now when I say quality empowerment, I take into consideration child education. Now child education is many of the state governments have taken into consideration that, for example, free education in interiors, free education till the age of 14, and till the class of 7th standard, and some state governments are taking till 10th standard also. So which is very, very important. But what is getting given as a child or a girl child education, that is utmost important. Are we giving enough sex education? Are we giving enough health education? Now, culture, according to me, is can be retained only if women is empowered in any community. Take any community, take any region, state. If culture is to be retained, women will have to take the responsibility, which is very, very important. Now, when we hand over the culture in the hands of women, and we give the responsibility of cultural retention to women, women only is the right person, I will say, out of the two, woman is the right person who can filter what should be given to the next generation, or where it is, it has to be extended, it needs to be limited out of the whole process. So the decision taken also, women can be wisely deciding what is beneficial for the next generation, which is to be retained, and elimination also women can be taking with the wisdom. So child education, women education, and in higher vocational education, we talk about, uh, Vivek, you can go down the slides, please. In all the vocations, in all the professions, okay, fine, I think, yeah, it's okay, it's not there in that slide. I will just mention very quickly what I am wanting to talk to about vocational education is doctors, engineers, nurses. So where professional and vocational training to the women is very much helpful in the higher education. Now, if we see in the higher education, statistical data also has representative. It's only the teaching profession where women have outnumbered lawyers, uh, doctors, aviation, engineers. So that's how teaching profession mainly is taken over by women. Now, the point which can be taken into consideration, if we are talking about women empowerment, teaching is the only profession which addresses to all other professions, which makes all other professions. So women has tremendous responsibility right from the school education to higher education, or to all types of education, which I have put up in the second column, that is sex education, financial education. Health education has become very, very important, because we know what are the health hazards which we all are coming across. Women itself is going through lot many health issues right from the childhood, youth, and even at the adult age. So health education is very, very important nowadays. Now is this century, we have declared that this century is concerned about health education, but how much in practice? There is tremendous of malnutrition which actually exists in the society, we need to take care about. All other types of education, for example environmental, now we are struggling hard for environmental education. But if, as we know, one statement written by Mahatma Gandhi, that if you educate a woman, you educate the family, and if you educate a man, you educate only one man. So if women can be taking the responsibility of all environmental education around her, she can bring all those practices in her daily chores, in her daily practices, which can automatically be passed on to next generation. Probably we will not have to struggle so hard formally for cultural education, health education, environmental education. Very important is women's awareness about human rights education, which is very, very important. And we all are aware about woman is not aware about her marital rights, about her family status, about her when there is a dispute in the family, what rights she holds, even the professional rights. Sexual abuse at workplace, woman is not aware about. So all these are essential, basic essential, you can say the professional tactics one needs to be knowing. If I am out in the society, what are my rights I should be aware about. So empowering women for all such issues can actually bring a lot of wisdom, lot of you can say the process will become easy. That is what can be passed on to next generation. And as I said it, best of the profession has already taken by the women, which is teaching profession. Because teaching profession actually addresses to masses at all levels, at childhood level, youth level, and higher education level as well. Last but not the least, I would say digital education is utmost important. Now, digital education, we are talking so much about digitalization of India, digitalization of our daily practices, even small things like paying money through digital mode, making investments. Now financial education is all about investments. Financial education is all about budgeting, and woman is the one person who budgets the whole household activities. So digitalization and education for digitalization to women actually can empower. So the definition of empowerment, according to me, the empowerment and what all is to be included in empowerment. So I could consider these are some of the things which should be focused upon when we are talking about women empowerment. Women empowerment in all the spheres of profession, personal, social contexts should be taken into consideration when we are talking about women empowerment. So, will not take much time because other speakers also have to present their point of view. At the end of this is what should be, the focus of this webinar, how we should be considering these factors into consideration when we are talking about women empowerment. And I give the opportunity to our other speakers on the panel. Later on, we can be taking up the question answers, and probably how to go about such kind of activities we can take into consideration. So I request Dr. Noor Firdoos Jahan, the other panelist with me on this webinar. Dr. Noor Firdoos Jahan is an academician for last 25 years. Her experience as capacity of professor, she's working as principal and head and postgraduate degree. She has postgraduate degree in business administration. Dr. Noor has authored books and she has diversified areas, marketing and management. She has published more than 50 papers, both in national and international refereed journals. She has participated as resource person and has delivered lectures in many conferences and seminars. She has conducted several workshops for teachers and students in the area of marketing and management, outcome-based education, and on NAC and NBA accreditation processes, etc. She is recognized as guide for PhD in management at Mysore University and has successfully guided 7 scholars, and all of them have been awarded PhD degree under her able guidance. Dr. Noor is appointed as Margaret Shuck, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, under the scheme of Margdarshan initiative by AICTE. Okay, this is Margdarshak,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Yes, to help the mapped Margdarshak beneficiary institutes for improving the required quality parameters required uh, to obtain accreditation from National Board of Accreditation, NBA. She is also nominated as Innovation Ambassador for IPR and AICTE MHRD's Innovation Cell. She is nominated and serving as Tourism, Hospitality and Facility Expert Committee of BCIC for the year 21-22, and was nominated and served as member of International Business Expert Committee of BCIC for the year 21-22. Presently, sorry, this is 2021. Presently serving as a member of Karnataka Infra and Urban Mobility Panel of CII. She is also serving as advisory board member of several NGOs and guiding them in their activities. She has also launched her YouTube channel at Dr. Noor Firdoos 1876, which aims at inculcating management skills among people, which is well appreciated by audience and have got good response. Recently, she is awarded with Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Educational Leadership Excellence Award 2023. Ma'am, heartiest congratulations to
Thank
you
you so
for
much,
that.
ma'am.
She has
Thank you.
also received MTC Global Distinguished Teacher Award Management 2021, awarded by MTC Global, and her dedicated service in the field of education. Dr. Noor Firdoos Jahan holds a postgraduate degree in business administration from Bangalore University in the area of marketing, PhD in management from Shri Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalaya Tirupati, and has qualified in UGC NET. Her area of research is marketing and retailing. This was all about Dr. Noor, and I request her to take up or this proceed this webinar. Welcoming you to this webinar, Dr. Noor. Session is over to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such elaborate and warm introduction of mine. That's really great. Thank you, ma'am. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, and fellow advocate for positive change, a very good evening to you all. Imagine a world where every girl, regardless of her background or circumstances, has the opportunity to unlock her full potential. A world where education is not just a privilege, but for some, but a birthright for all. Today, we gather here to explore a topic of profound significance: women empowerment through education. At the outset, I thank Professor Charan Singh sir and EGROW for giving me this opportunity to speak on this topic, which I relate to myself, as it is only education which has empowered me and my family. This concept was taught to me by my mother, who always used to emphasize us on education and tell us to focus on our studies. It is going to make you independent, and it is going to make you the great. So this is what made me to go ahead with education, and this is where I am today. So making their daughter independent is not just a dream of my mom, but it is a dream of every parent. And simple way to achieve this is through education. The education of women plays a very important role in the advancement of society. As in the words of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, if you educate a man, you educate an individual. However, if you educate a woman, you educate whole family. Women empowered means Mother India empowered. Women education in India plays very important role in the overall development of country. So, ma'am, Mandeep ma'am have already spoken about the meaning of empowerment, and I wanted to link that meaning to the meaning of education, because what I feel is the education and empowerment goes side by side, and it is complementary to each other. Both should go in parallel to each other, then only the real growth in women and in a country is possible. So empowerment is a process of enabling or authorizing individual to think, take action, and control work in an autonomous way. It's a process by which one can gain control over other destiny and the circumstances of one life. Look at the education as definition given by Mahatma Jyotibe Phule. He says that education is that which demonstrates the difference between what is good and what is evil. Without knowing what is right and wrong, one cannot take action and control the work in an autonomous way. That is why education means modification of behavior in every aspect, such as mentality, outlook, attitude, which is very important element of empowerment. I think education is the milestone of women empowerment because it enables them to take action and control work in an autonomous way. So education uh, is basically the one which empower women and enable them to respond to the challenges, to confront their traditional role and change their life. Now all of you are aware of it. India poised to become the superpower in recent years. Education of women is the most powerful tool to change the position in society. Women education in India has been in need of an hour, and education is a foundation tool for empowerment of women. Empowering women has become the focus and considerable discussion and attention all over the world. As according to UNESCO, there are still around 132 million girls worldwide who are out of school. So this data, this change in unacceptable reality. UNESCO is launching one very unique program which is called as Her Education, Our Future, a new drive to accelerate the action for girls and women education by leveraging political and financial commitment as leadership for women and girls. This statistic is a stark reminder of work that remains to be done. However, it also highlights the incredible potential that could be unleashing through education. Tonight here, we are here to explore the three things I wanted to bring it up here to this audience, that is the benefits, challenges, and what solution we can take up to make education so effective that it definitely empowers women. So first let me start talking about the role of education in making the women empower. So I jotted down 12 points in this regard. So the first point, what I want to focus is on economic environment. As you're aware of it, women have been marginalized in economic opportunities due to limited access to education. However, education can be a powerful catalyst for for basically the economic empowerment, enabling women to break poverty and contribute to their families and communities. Education equips women with necessary skills and knowledge that necessary to access better paying job and entrepreneur opportunities. Educated women are more likely to participate in the formal job market and try to get the best job in the market, which is already happening in the present scenario. And education also make women a very successful entrepreneur because there are a lot of opportunities available to become an entrepreneur, and educated women can always become an entrepreneur and support her family, support herself, and also support the economy to grow and become self-reliant. Here I remember here I wanted to give an example of Malala Yousafzai, a Nobel laureate who, despite facing threats, advocated for girls' education in Pakistan. Her courage inspired countless girls to pursue education and improve their economic prospects. So, what I feel is economic empowerment is very, very important. For this, education plays a very important role. The next role, what I want to bring it to you is the next point is health and well-being. Access to quality education significantly impact the health and well-being of women. Not only physical health, it also makes them to learn how to handle stress and take care of their mental health. The women who lack the essential knowledge about healthcare practices, like maybe family planning or maybe disease prevention, which lead to the adverse outcome. So this can be sorted out very well if women is educated. I would like to mention about a case of Rwanda where educating women about nutrition, one single act, and healthcare has significantly reduced the child mortality rate, and women educated play a very vital role here. So the one case can bring in so much of change in the country. Then the next area which I want to touch is about health and well-being. Correct. So then afterward, the gender equity, the most sought after, okay, the most upcoming area where lot of discussion is happening is on gender equality. I think we are aware of it. Most of us are working on the concept of bringing gender equality. But what I feel is until unless we women are educated enough, correct, to understand our role, to understand our rights, no, gender equality is just impossible in any country, because gender equality fosters by challenging stereotype and promoting the women participation in decision making. There has been, I've seen there's a positive influence in corporate world. If I look back 10 years from now, there are a lot of uh, position of power which is occupied by women now, and the things have changed like anything, because our women are educated now and they are able to do well and contribute their knowledge and experience, and they are taking every industry by storm. Here I want to mention about the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the first female president of Liberia, who used the education to lead the country through challenging time, demonstrating the transformative power of educated women in leadership. So gender equality is something we can achieve through this. The next thing I want to bring up to you is the community development. Yes, care and concern are very important qualities of women. Educated women are more likely to invest in their communities, contributing to the overall development of the country, and making the poverty and making the zero poverty nation. Here I remember the one incident of Wangari Maathai, a Kenyan environmentalist and Nobel laureate who founded the Green Belt movement. Just one single movement she started and educated women about the importance of planting trees. This initiative led to improve the environmental sustainability and economic growth in Kenya. Imagine if if women is empowered, if women is educated, and she is contributing to community development, whole world can become a better place to live. So that's something I jotted on here. The next, what I want to speak is about the women. If she becomes what we can achieve is breaking the cycle of poverty. The UNO is in its side to achieve the poverty-less world. We we don't want to have any poverty in the world. So educated women can very well to create a world with no poverty, as they have more opportunity to escape the cycle of poverty. I just remember the one story of Taliban. So after the Taliban has closed the girls' school in the year I think 1990, so Yaqubi established the Afghan Institute of Learning in 1995. She started the journey with a single underground home school and ended up with 80 schools for 3,000 girls in Afghanistan. Had empowered girls to pursue education, breaking the cycle of poverty in their families. So these are the women who have told that education have empowered them, and they are empowering women through education, because that's the only way to empower women. The next, I want to talk about the empowerment of women will also contribute to entrepreneurship. This is very important area where our government is providing a lot of incentives, lot of subsidies, lot of benefits are being offered to become entrepreneur. But until and unless the woman is educated, she understands the entrepreneurship, she'll not be able to start something on their own and run it successfully. So that is why a woman can become a very successful entrepreneur if she is educated. Here I wanted to bring you to a story of Raushni Zafar, who founded the Kashaf Foundation in Pakistan, the first specialized microfinance organization in Pakistan. The Kashaf Foundation in 1996, which has served over, I think, 5 million women entrepreneurs across Pakistan and contribute and continues to pay the path for women economic empowerment through its holistic financial service program. So one such program, which was the need of the day, is empowering women to create more of entrepreneurs in the country. The ne- so that's one area what I thought I should discuss today. The next, what I feel is the very important area, which is in news in past 2 3 days, because our government is talking about the political participation. Yes, political participation. Lot of opportunities is provided to the women to be part of political system, but until unless we are educated enough to understand our role in politics, we are not able to add much value to it. That is why it is education which is going to empower women to make them participate politically. Here I want to just bring up the one small story of Gulabi Gang. I think all of you are aware of it, led by Sampath Pai Devi. We women with limited formal education can create an awareness about women rights and fought for the justice in male-dominated society, showcasing the influence of educated women in the grassroots activism. Imagine if education can empower women, there will not be any sufferings of women in the country. So that is why the education plays a role there. Then one more area what I thought we should discuss is social change and norms. Yes, education challenges the harmful gender norm and contribute to the more inclusive society. So what is happening is we always feel that male should get priority for male is to get education and female is to take care of home. So that thing should break up and we should give equal emphasis for education to both girls and boys. So here I want to bring in the concept of one story of Me Too movement initiated by Tarana Burke, who gained the global attention and led to the increased awareness of action against the sexual harassment assault. And here also education played a very significant role in mobilizing women to speak out. So that's something very important I felt. Then as man was telling, the women who are already empowered with education, they should become the role model and mentors. This is very, very important. That will motivate many girls, many women to take up education and serve as a role model. Here I want to make a mention of my mentor, Sudha Murthy ma'am, who's an Indian educator, author and philanthropist, who's a chairperson of Infosys Foundation, act as a role model to many one of us and inspires us to lead a more systematic life. So that's something what we can become, what education can contribute. And along with that, this can also contribute to the global impact. Women education is a global issue because according to UNICEF, 1 in 3 girls in developing countries is married before the age of 18. Curtailing their educational opportunities, education will make women to take steps on issues like this and work on educating girls. Here I want to talk about the fund created by Malala Yousafzai, who advocates for 12 years of free quality education for every girl. This initiative will definitely have addressed the barrier of for girls' education in the world. So the next point, very important, which is close to my heart, is resilience and leadership. Yes, education will make us very successful leader, and because it gives us the problem-solving skill, leadership skills, so we can lead the team successfully, business successfully. So here I just want to bring up the correct the why the leadership skill we can not only guide the country, the family, okay, with the leadership skill, we can take up the measure to empower the other women as well. The last area here, what I wanted to speak is about the technology and innovation. Yes, women are proving themselves in this area. Educated women at the forefront of innovation and technology, driving progress in various fields. Look at the contribution of female scientists who work behind the scenes to make the mission Chandrayaan 3 successful. It is remarkable. It's only education which empower them to be part of this mission. So I feel all these areas is making the women empowerment through education possible today. As we explore the role of education in women empowerment is remarkable in these 12 areas, but still we are not able to achieve it completely due to various challenges. Let us delve into some of the key challenges that women are facing in assessing education. So the first area what I feel we are facing is traditional norms and gender stereotypes. So that's something which is hindering women to get educated. So women are not giving priority when they have less resources. The top priority provided to get educated is male or sons rather than daughters. So here I want to give an example from again Afghanistan. The prevailing cultural norm once severely restricted girls' access to education. However, women like Shabana Rizk founded the School of Leadership Afghanistan, SOLA, to provide education to girls despite strong opposition. Her effort challenged this norm and opened doors for many girls in her community. So one such act can definitely remove this kind of challenges and make women more empowered. The next, what I feel in India, we are facing the problem here is the economic context, like poverty, and the cost of education is little high. Though the government is providing the free education, many kinds of scholarships are being provided, but still the women access to quality education are still very challenging task. They are not able to pay the school fees, or uniform, or textbook. So these are the issues what they are facing it. So this is something which have to be resolved. Many countries in Africa and most of the developing countries have taken many steps to resolve this issue. They have a campaign called as CAMFED, which is instrumental in providing the financial support to the girls in Africa. So these things are going on, but this is one challenge what I thought I should bring it today. The next challenge I feel is lack of infrastructure. We have a problem in most of the rural areas, the remote areas, the lack of access to school, transportation, and basic infrastructure facility. Most of the people have spoken about it. If you just speak to them, their experience about education, they've spoken that they had a lot of issues in traveling back to home and from home to the school. So due to that, their parents will ask them not to continue with the studies. So this is one area where we have to work on. Then we also have the child marriage and early pregnancy. Often girls to drop out of schools. In some communities, girls are married off at a young age, which is leading to premature end of their education. So here I want to bring up one NGO which is working on it. That is Girls, Not Bride is a global network of more than 1,600 civil society organizations from over 100 countries committed to ending the child marriage and ensuring the girls can reach their full potential. So this one area. Then next I felt is lack of female role models. See, the to bringing change in women, what we need is the role model. So the shortage of role model, we the educated women should play a very important role, becoming a role model, and one can empower the 10 women. If we take the task like this, then definitely women empowerment can be achieved to 100% through education. I really appreciate the work done by Dr. Rukmani Banerjee here, the CEO of Pratham, an education NGO in India, who have emphasized the importance of female teacher as a role model. Her organization has worked hard to train and empower female teachers, creating a positive impact on girls' education in India. So I really feel that these real life examples underscore the multifaceted challenges that women and girls encounter in accessing education. While these challenges are formidable, the stories of resilience and determination also highlight the potential for change and the importance of concerned effort to overcome these obstacles. So what we need to do now is addressing these challenges is crucial to ensure that the education becomes a universal right for women and girls worldwide. So here are some strategies, my last part of my section. So some strategies and solutions to address the challenges mentioned here. What I feel here in Indian context we need to do is that campaign, the awareness campaign for parents to educate girls. How important it is to educate girls, correct? And try to challenge the stereotype and promote value of education. The next, what I feel is the religious leader play a very important role in India. So we can just try to convince them, and they try to influence the families. So we can talk them, we can make them as ambassador to speak about the importance of education to women. Correct. Then we women can also take up the task of EGROW is doing extremely good job. So they can always bring up the stories of the successful women and highlight them in the most of the remote areas of the country, and let the girls see that and think that nothing is impossible in the world. Yes, we can do extraordinary work being a woman. So that is something we can think about doing it. Then provide scholarship and financial aid. This is already the government is doing it and NGOs are doing it. Lot of private people have taken up this to provide free scholarship and financial aid to the children. So this is something which is happening, but we need to do it at a large scale because ours is the highest population in the world. Whatever we do, the resources we see it is less. Then I also feel that we need to construct the schools in undeserved areas, then provide safe transport to the girls and advocate, support legal reforms and advocate for policies and laws. So these are certain things which came to my mind, which we can do to strengthen the women empowerment through education in India. So it is important to note that these strategies, whatever I brought in now, it's interrelated. And this comprehensive approach is often necessary to address the challenges effectively. Collaboration among government, civil society, international organization is very crucial to create lasting change and ensuring that education becomes reality for all women and girls around the world. I would like to conclude with the eloquent words of Malala Yousafzai, who says, one child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. Today, we have witnessed the profound truth behind this statement. Education is a beacon that guides women from the shadow of limitation to the brilliance of opportunity. Thank you for joining in this endeavor. The journey of women empowerment through education continues and continues, and together we should illuminate the path forward. As in the words of Swami Vivekananda, countries and nations which do not respect women have never become great nor will ever be in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Noor. You really touched upon almost every area where we need to work upon, think upon, and how we achieve the targets which we are looking forward. First of all, let me congratulate you. You said it very emphatically that your mother is your inspiration. That means we are the second and third generation learners, so we
Yes.
become more responsible for
Yes.
upcoming generations. Highly congratulating you for your achievements, for your PowerPoint presentation. You mentioned about, modification in mentality, the outlook that needs to be changed. And moreover, you had been in your discourse, you had been making the comparison of traditional and conventional. So in the comparative analysis, you mentioned lot of examples, lot of anecdotes, and your references are highly appreciated when you are giving the true stories of actual achievers. So this is where I think in this webinar we need to pay attention, and we need to take into consideration how the next generation needs to be molded, and how the next generation needs to move out from the conventional and traditional thinking and change the outlook for 21st century, which is again very important. You mentioned about that we are lagging behind, or we have lack of role models. Yes, that is true. Women role models, your examples were actually, you touched upon Mrs. Murthy, you touched upon many examples with stories. One more example which was coming to my mind was Dr. Kiran Bedi, who
Yes,
had
ma'am.
been evergreen
Yes.
example for women at
Yes.
all, as leadership
True.
also, and for her command, for her actions, and now the social service which she is doing for the
Yes.
society. So thank you so much for your efforts. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Before I invite the next speaker for today, there are few questions. I would like to take those questions along with the session. So one question talks about, uh, I will just read it over here only. The one question talks about equality is good, but when it comes to the family and settlement, women only has to sacrifice. So to the person who has put up this question, I would like to say, as per my understanding and my experience of life, please do not consider that woman has to sacrifice. Always consider that woman is privileged to sacrifice, because woman is provided with multiple, you can say, talents, where women can be doing in profession the best, women can be doing the best in the household chores also. Women only can be taking the best responsibility for bringing up children and giving them the best education. That's what we are talking about over here. If educated mother is there, educated mother, I would say even uneducated mother also had been taking her responsibility in best of her, you can say, talent or her spirit. But if mother is educated, definitely will give best of the education to upcoming generations. But here the generation talks about sacrifice when we talk about household chores, looking after the kitchen, bringing up children. This is what is the woman of today. If we will start comparing, or if we'll start thinking that this is not my responsibility because I'm educated woman, then the divide, or you can say, in the society, the negative rates will increase, which we are already observing. The ego of the woman is increasing the divorce rate in the society. The educated woman sometimes is not playing that positive role which is expected out of educated women. So that what we need to negate, and that is what we need to look after. Education over here does not mean elevating your egoistic behavior. Education over here means how you play positive role for the positive society and bringing better citizens in the society. So that's what very positive outlook women will have to develop, by sharing all her responsibilities equally. And I would say one word: lead by wisdom. So wisdom is what is most important, that we need to empower women with. So that's what is the answer to one question which is mentioned over here, that why only woman has to sacrifice. I would say, do not consider that's a sacrifice, consider it as your privilege to be the better part in the society, in the family, and you will bring a better change. Second question talks about feminization of teaching profession. I would, first of all, I would say feminization is not a positive term. Feminization is a negative term. But teaching profession, practically it had been overtaken by women, and women is playing its positive role. No one stops anyone, but only thing is, in our society, the corporate sector, the aviation, the defense, always in, always in the past had been men dominating professions. So that is how educated woman redirected herself towards teaching profession. Although there are other professions also. Now, for example, nurses, there also it is a women dominating profession. So basically, what we talk about when it is mentioned that it is a double edged sword, in fact I would consider that woman is at better benefit for such kind of professions, where we can be addressing to other professions also. So thank you so much for your participation, thank you so much for the questions. We will welcome other more questions in this webinar.
If you allow, then I can
Yes.
speak something about,
Yes, sir. Yes, we can, and we can wait for the end of the other speakers this thing also. You can please take up.
Discussion is very, very important for such kind of
Yes, sir.
topic. So I think very good presentation. I appreciate really Dr. Noor presentation. And the problem is that first of all, we should know what is the empowerment. That is very, very important. Empowerment, first we have to define this terminology, what is the empowerment and what kind of. Because if you see that in rural area, women empowerment is totally different from the urban areas. So education is only one mean. It is not going to empower the women directly or indirectly. It's just going to providing the some kind of knowledge to the women. But to empower, that means social, economical, and which kind of empowerment is more important for the women. So these are the very, very difficult, issues. And simply we cannot say women empowerment, we have to provide education, then they will become the empowered. No, never. Education is only one meaning. So we must have to define the empowerment. We have to define the ecosystem of the women in rural area, urban area, or even particular in the specific region. Because the women problem in the Jammu Kashmir is totally different from the women problem in the Uttar Pradesh. So there is a lot of that the clarity required just before going to address such kind of issues. And then also the research also, there is a need of conducting research, empirical some kind of research we must have to conduct. Then only we can say some kind of that means the issues related to women empowerment. This is my only the opinion. I think so.
Thank you, Mr. Satya Singh, for your opinion and for the discussion. I hope you heard right from the beginning that we had been talking about the strategies of. So when we strategize, Madam Dr. Noor has given beautiful strategies over there when she says awareness campaign needs to be having. So we need to come up with those kind of, and religious leaders. She has given one very good example that we need to be having. So those role models, religious leaders can be taking the lead for achieving what we are in all different spheres which we are talking about. For example, we are talking about how a small vocation can be popularized when woman is uneducated but she is skillful. So that is what also is empowering a woman, where she can make herself economically independent and she can be making herself more powerful by health education. So these are the issues which are actually to be addressed, and we need to pay attention for. So thank you for
Madam,
your
excuse
participation.
me.
Allow me to.
I have a small question. May I, please? It's a small question. First of all,
Ma'am, you can please post the question in the chat,
Yeah.
and if we can take it after the second speaker also has presented. So we will welcome your question definitely after the second speaker.
okay,
So
I
please
have posted
allow
it.
me to invite. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I invite Dr. Vijaya Priya. She is presently, she is presently working as faculty, Department of Economics at Mount Carmel College Autonomous, and currently heading the Department of Economics, MCC. She is a member of the Board of Examiners at Department of Economics, Christ University, St. Joseph's University School of Economics, and University of Hyderabad. She is also external member on the Faculty Selection Board, Jahan University. Dr. Vijaya Priya S. has 17 years of teaching experience to her credit, both at UG and PG levels. She has authored 11 research papers in national and international journals and 3 chapters in the books. Dr. Vijaya Priya S. holds PhD in economics, MPhil, MA, Masters in Business Economics, Bachelor's in Economics. I invite Dr. Vijaya Priya to the portal, and session is over to her. Dr. Vijaya Priya. Dr. Vijay, please unmute yourself.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Yes, a very pleasant evening to one and all present here. Firstly, I would like to place my gratitude to Professor Charan Singh sir for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this webinar series. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank Professor Mandeep Kaur for being the session chair and also for giving an introduction to me to this platform. And also I would like to thank Professor Noor Jahan, with whom I'm sharing the platform right now. So moving on to my discussion, I would like to start off my discussion the words of William Ross by saying the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, which clearly implies that educated, empowered women are the ones who are going to hold on to the subsequent generation, who's going to bestow with much more than the mother or parent is equipped with. So I suppose we can very well understand that female literacy is what is being emphasized here in this context. I would like to hover around my discussion the next few minutes around these points. One is that I would like to bring out some observations from a common man's perspective, that is the Aam Aadmi. Second is, naturally, being a student of economics, I cannot resist myself by presenting some data facts on labor force participation rate. And also, I would like to touch upon a bit on informal education. And lastly, 5 minutes I would like to probably devote on this aspect of what is the difference between entitlement versus empowerment. Probably, I think I'll have much more people to join in to give their own facts and figures about this. First in place, I would like to start off by women in India play numerous roles in society that are mostly shaped by gender. And these roles traditionally ranges from washing to rearing children. Of course, today's context is entirely changed. Probably when I watched a movie recently it's a Hindi movie called Ki and Ka, which explains about the reversal of roles between the man and the woman, which society takes time to adapt, of course. Even though the man and the woman in the movie agree, of course, it's a storyline where they agree to reverse their roles, where the man is inspired by his mother, saying that she was the epicenter of the entire family progressing to whatever extent they were. And he wanted to replicate the role of his mother. And here the woman steps outside as the breadwinner. But of course, being a storyline, of course, towards the end, the hero and the heroine itself have ego clashes. And later on, of course, it ends up with a good storyline of them continuing with the decision that they had taken. But of course, all these to penetrate in society is definitely going to take a lot of time, even though part of urban spaces have accepted this fact. So I would like to quote here saying it is the invisible women labor at home that makes life possible. In fact, being students of economics, macroeconomics, national income limitations very clearly says that the services of the homemaker is not accounted for the value of goods and services generated in the economy, which is nothing but the national income. So these are certain observations that I was talking about in terms of the Aam Aadmi, where I have seen myself back in my childhood. I have seen most of my aunts or my grandmother or probably even certain women in the neighborhood trying to get to know information from their male counterparts as to who they need to vote for even during an election period. This is not to say that the women were not informed about. Probably in yesteryears, there was so much of manual work involved and not so much of exposure to social media. Probably today, at least in urban spaces, we at least know the extent of elections, who is standing for and whom you need to vote for. This is just trying to just mention that how much of dependence the women had towards their own menfolk at home to even decide whom to vote for. This is one point which I want to state. Second is that, not that anything is wrong about it, but just to bring out the contrast. And second one is where to mention that when I chat with my own cousins or with my friends who are all homemakers plus, I don't want to delineate and say homemaker plus working professional. A working professional is definitely a homemaker also. So in today's context, when she is earning, sometimes when it comes to traditional forms of savings like insurance and so on, I think there is clarity in what the woman has to do. But when it comes to mutual fund investments, when it comes to stock market investments, I think definitely in certain families I have seen the man deciding as to where the money has to be saved in terms of the women generated saving from her income. Again, to repeat, there is nothing wrong about it as far as I think in management context, we say joint management council. So it is good to join together, have a discussion and move ahead with the family income or savings being invested in the right form. But then in case it is the other way around where it's determined by the man, then again, we see that the picture skew is different. Anyways, recalling back one of the times when I saw a forward from Sudhamurthy ma'am, which clearly stated that sons are taught about jobs, earnings, and good career. Teach one son to cook and look after home. Earnings and livelihood is no longer man's concern only, and taking care of the house is no longer solely the women's responsibility. Both are equally important for the man and for the woman. So I would like to put it in quotes saying that it is life skills. I think this we have resonated from various people from the bureaucracy or from the policy making side, that both needs to be endowed with the reversal skills that we need to inherit or adopt. This is, as I said, the second part of my presentation goes to some bit of data facts. This is basically data from the World Bank, which talks about the India's labor force participation rate, where we see in the beginning 1990s, the post-structural change period, the labor force participation rate, the female labor force participation rate has witnessed increase. Then there is some amount of very slight kind of decrease from 2000 to 2010. Then onwards, there has been a very steep decline, and post 2018, we again see that the figures have definitely progressed, and it is on a scaling up component. The next is with regard to the rural India and the urban India with regard to what is the average female labor force participation rate. So we can very clearly evince and witness that the first part is about the rural female labor force participation rate, where it is on an average of 36.6%. Of course, I'm not going into the details of demographic dividend, age category between 15 and 59. I'm just looking at the average rural female labor force participation rate versus the urban female labor force participation rate on an average of 23.8%, whereas the male counterpart is around 74.7%. So we can clearly understand here that the female labor force participation rate in the rural space is definitely higher than the urban space. Moving on to the overall average of female labor force participation rate average with regard to the nation is around 32.8%. And this is database pertaining to 2021-22. Next, let's just move around to the Sustainable Development Goal 5, namely the fifth SDG, namely gender equality, which talks about expansion of base for women entrepreneurship, of course, with the help of promotion of self-help groups. To my left of the slide is certain schemes. Of course, these are not solely towards women, but some of them, yes. One is Stand Up India, the other one is Prime Minister Mudra Yojana, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, then Poshan Abhiyan, and Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana, JDY. So towards the right, I've just given some data points to say how things have progressed. With the help of Jan Dhan Yojana, around 460 million bank accounts have been opened from a period of 2015 to 22, almost increased by 3 times. Out of this total increase in deposits, 56% is by women deposits, that is the savings account opened by women. The other one is the Udyam Sakhi portal, which is basically looking at upliftment of women entrepreneurs. And of course, the Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, where we see the outcome has been women-led MSMEs have increased from a 4.9 lakh to 8.5 lakh registered units. And the total benefit of 2562 crores have been provided or has been enhanced to the extent of 15.8 lakh women beneficiaries. This is just to bring out some of the outcomes because of certain policy initiatives and schemes taken up by the government. Now, this is just a slight breather from all the databases. This is just to state, of course, these are some screenshots from certain movies. This is just to say that if the woman sets out of the house with a handbag, probably a formal attire or a coffee mug in hand, that definitely does not symbolize women empowerment. Just now I heard one of the people discussing, saying that you need to clearly understand what is empowerment and education is just a tool. Probably we'll come to this a shade later. Sometimes it's difficult to see, especially I live in a cosmopolitan city. I'm sure Noor ma'am also will accept that sometimes in the name of women liberation, women independence, I think certain things are definitely not appreciated and it is going on the negative side. Towards the right side of my slide, of course, we have seen many of our people, probably the spouses, the brothers, the fathers, the grandfathers doing this. But definitely this needs to be accepted by the mother of the men and probably the rest of the society to accept that this can also be done on a day-to-day basis. I'm talking about certain spaces where this is definitely seems to be a dream and not a reality. Probably we can talk about the semi-urban and rural spaces in this regard. This is just a borrowing from labor economics, where this talks about joint labor supply decisions within the household, where both the partners set to work. This is, of course, taken from the American Economic Review Journal by Johnny and Stratton. There is a small little graphical depiction to say that the horizontal axis represents the time spent in household production, and the vertical axis represents the value of goods and services, in other words, simply nation's income. Let's assume that both the partners start at an initial equilibrium point, say A, pertaining to a lower level of utility, which is U1. As we all know, when we move upward or progress upward, it definitely depicts higher level of satisfaction. If both the partners decide to spend less of time at the household and probably both set to work outside, we can definitely visualize that the time spent in household is reduced from H0 to H1. I've just tried putting it in a pencil where the household production time has decreased. Again, we do see that there is a more than proportionate increase in national income to the extent of BD. In this process, the new equilibrium happens to be D, where it leads to a higher utility level from U1 to U2. Now here, if we have to look at as to how the total utility levels of the family has gone up, one, we can say the man has started enjoying a bit of time that is spent in household work, or probably in the parenting process or in the feeding process of children, or probably a little bit of helping out in household chores. The next one is about the women, who is, rather than confining herself to the house where she sits outside, there is some element of socialization. There is some amount of probably liberal environment to think, because of which the total utility of this family definitely increases. So we see at the micro level, the family income has increased, and also leading to macro increase in terms of national income. This is just to prove from the theoretical aspect that how women empowerment or women setting outside definitely will add on to the national income in terms of goods and services, instead of not being noticed as part of national income. So this is one dimension. Now, this particular case talks about the dwindling cases with regard to female labor force participation rate. Of course, the left-hand side graph can be a replication, but I thought that I could present this and share this with everyone, because this is a database from CMIE, the latest data, June 2023, where we see that the participation rate with regard to female labor was around 15% in 2016-17, which is dwindled to around 9% by 2022-23. Towards the right, we can see India and its neighboring countries. This graph is taken from the World Bank 2019 ILO estimates, where we can see that the LFPR, labor force participation rate in case of India, is around 21%, which is almost the lowest. Of course, we have Afghanistan, Pakistan sharing and sailing in the same boat, China with around 62% and Nepal with around 82%. Of course, there is no room for comparing India with Nepal and so on, because the reason is, the simple reason is the geographical domain and region. The size of one state could be the size of one country. But negating all these things, just looking at pure data facts, we can see the contrast with regard to these components. Next is we move on to vocational education training. Let's remember that vocational education training is looked as a panacea. is looked at as a salvation towards finding out a huge solution towards equipping and engaging the huge unskilled population in India. And let's remember that vocational education training is definitely non-academic, is more skill-oriented, and practical learning happens, and probably certification of skills is done by professional bodies. Now, keeping this in context, I've taken the program of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. We can clearly understand that the employability among women is greater than that of man. Of course, post 2014. In between, there is a small little chunk, 2018 to 21, men employability has increased. But again, the last 2 years, the women employability has risen. First of all, let's understand employability and employment is not the same. Employability just refers to the ability and potential to get a gainful employment in the near future. So this is one statistics which I would like to bring in. The other part is an extension of it, which talks about the participation and actual employment of men and women at work post vocational education training in terms of percentage. So the source for these are taken from India Skills Report 2023, where we can clearly see that the statistics with regard to men, it's just reversed. The employability was high in case of women in the previous graph, but here we can see that women has dipped down and man definitely has enhanced. Probably if we to introspect on what the reasons are, the data set that is taken for employability is probably at the time when women register for the courses. Probably the data set is not taken into account in terms of completion. That can be one. So there's a gap that is witnessed in terms of enrollment and training. And second is probably there's a gap which is witnessed between training and placement of these women beneficiaries out of vocational education training. So probably we need to retrospect and see what is the status of women education, what is the status of women employment and empowerment in spite of policies like vocational education training. Probably we have to fall back and lean back on the complex socioeconomic problems of women employment. Probably we can place our focus more on post-marriage. This is just a picture of the recent picture which was circulated in social media, where we look at the Kerala mayor who resumes office even before she completes her maternity leave. And clearly there's a statement which says that can't anyone offer to accompany a working mother to support her while she works? Probably this is also one thing which we need to consider when we are talking about the dip in female labor force participation rate. Probably the mayor can do it, but the armed women will definitely find it difficult if she does not find any support. So coming on to the right-hand side of my slide, I can very clearly say that when policymakers look at the total number of jobs being increased, yes, definitely fine, good. But on the other side, what is the access of women to this increasing number of jobs probably need to be introspected. Second is we see that there's huge representation of women in the informal sector. And let's remember, informal sector is not duly protected by social security measures. So this vertical definitely has to be considered, even though, like we saw on the data set, that the rural female labor force participation is on the higher side. But how protected are they with regard to the social security measures is on one side. The other one is probably more female workers and more female participation can be looked forward in the STEM area, which we all know is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, where currently it's around 28%. Definitely, we have a lot of scope of improvement at this particular space, and women entrepreneurship definitely can increase. Now, coming to the last part of my discussion, which I did mention in the beginning, saying that I wanted to speak about some common man observations. Second is some data facts relating to female employment with other countries, male counterparts. And also we reflected on some database with regard to the vocational education training, where we saw that there was a clear demarcation where the employability of women were greater, but post-employment that is post-vocational training, the employment of women definitely dipped down. So this is one thing where we need to focus and see what are the gaps. And I think some of them we already kind of mentioned right now. Coming to the last part of the discussion, where I definitely wanted to bring this into the picture cube, where there is a difference between entitlement and empowerment. In fact, if I have to look back and say, why did I think about it? In fact, I'm indeed extremely happy and definitely proud to be a part of a 75-year-old institution like ours, where our vision is empowerment of women through education. So this is when I have introspected many times saying, is education alone leading to empowerment? Because we are basically looking at, and even our college emphasizes on what we call as value-based and holistic human development is what you're looking at, irrespective of whether it's man or woman. So quoting Swami Vivekananda, perfect womanhood means perfect independence. Again, quoting Swami Vivekananda, give women education and move away. Who are you to decide what their destination is? This is just to say what kind of importance was given to education, even though this is a quote which is centuries back, which is relevant till today. Now, in this context, I would like to say that society definitely has diverse women. I just want to quote 2 or 3 instances. Let's just assume that there is a construction worker, a woman construction worker, definitely belonging to the gig informal economy, having a child in hand, a child in the womb, probably a child in the. This is on one side. Another side, we have women with multiple degrees, multiple entitlements, but probably not stepping out for any productive work outside home, I mean. Third is where I see women who get into a shopping mall, probably in the idea of getting 2 saris or probably 2 accessories, but end up almost buying 1/3 of them. So this is what is the vision that we see. Now, I will just keep this scenario aside for a few minutes. I'll get to this probably a shade later. So going back again to mythology or back to our literature, there's always this thing that I have noticed, that women are related to valor and courage and men to beauty. Of course, this is not beauty or handsome. It's rather related to how things were happening as part of culture. Now, in this context, I would like to move on to animal kingdom for just a couple of minutes, where in contrast, when I see a 55-year-old woman with an experience at home versus a 55-year-old female elephant or a woman elephant in the animal kingdom or in the jungle, who is with pride called the matriarch. Now, what does this matriarch do is basically lead the herd of elephants. Now, this female elephant knows 2 years back when there was a famine, where was water available, or where is human population located so that the herd is not at trouble. And she also knows how to arrange her herd by saying the baby elephant in the center, the mother elephant adjacent, the uncle, aunt elephants around, and rather the rowdy elephants at the peripheral, so that they are able to be moving in a very secure environment. This is one thing I wanted to say. Second is, when you're looking at the swarm of bees, it is always the queen bee which is referred. And even if you're talking about the small little tiny tailor bird, it is always the female tailor bird lady which takes a decision as to how the family can move in. So these are just certain instances. Now let's just move on to differentiate between what is entitlement versus empowerment. Now I just want to bring to people's notice that degrees definitely are entitlements. For example, a person completes undergrad, post-graduation, then say a PhD, postdoc, definitely these are all entitlements. And let's understand that people with entitlements need not be empowered. So let's just go into that. Now, educated mind definitely has the capacity to face challenges and not to crumble and buckle down under any kind of stress. Now, let's understand that multiple entitlements in terms of degrees definitely is educated, but need not necessarily be empowered. Let's understand that an empowered woman is not that she does not face any fear. Problems will come, tribulations will come, but the courage with which she can control her fear and take her forward and bring in the divinity of confidence and courage is what needs to be reflected upon. Now, let me just go back to that diverse women that I mentioned. Now, if we are talking about an empowered woman who is a civil engineer or an architect in the same construction space, if she is able to make a difference to her co-workers in the same construction site, I think that is what is empowerment, rather than having degrees and not to do anything at the neighborhood or in terms of helping or being purposeful and meaningful in life. So therefore, I just want to bring to everybody's attention that education in multiple degrees can be entitlements, but need not be empowerment. Now, coming to my last part of my question, definitely an empowered woman will shed all her cosmetic changes and move into reality. When I say cosmetic changes, it can be all the snobbish behavior that a woman can wear. It can be about being jealous, being egoistic, being grumpy, always grumbling, gossiping. This is what I mean by saying cosmetic changes. Real changes should actually shed all these things and bring out the real woman essence in her, is what is empowerment. Entitlement and educated women definitely can. There is a possibility to wear on cosmetic changes. So I just want to say that educated women are like matchsticks in the matchbox. As long as the matchstick remains inside, it remains without much of purpose rather than to the self or to the family. Unless and until the matchbox, the matchstick is taken out of the box, there is interface and there is connect, and you can say connect with the society. That's when her actual essence of empowerment comes in. Like I mentioned, an educated architect or a civil engineer can give a salvation to the informal construction women worker whom she's seeing around, and she's able to be sensitive and conscious about it. So this is where, this is what will create illumination. This is what will create a dent on the society, irrespective of whether it is manhood or womanhood. I think we have to just look at educated people, irrespective of man and women, rather than being entitled with multiple degrees and looking at the self, should definitely move towards empowerment, where he or she is able to empathize with the society and bring about some change, a positive change, redeem, or I mean, rather, put away all the cosmetic changes and adapt and embrace real changes and real humanitarian values. So I would like to say that apart from the material will that we leave, this is also from Swami Vivekananda, where we need to leave an ethical will behind, which definitely is not disputed in the house of court, or it need not be disputed among family members. It is a will that we pass on to the next generation. So I would like to move to this fact that apart from education, we also need to look at value-based and holistic understanding and empowerment is what I would like to say. And definitely I would say that a woman who just steps outside with all the probably the modern ways of leading life is definitely not an empowered woman. I still see an empowered woman who still is a homemaker, bakes and cooks beautiful dosas and chapatis in the kitchen, still able to hold on to the family and still be productive to society and mean substance to everybody around. So I would like to end my discussion with this quote by saying a woman is the full circle. Within her is the power to create, nurture, and transform. Probably we can attribute this to the compass, where the compass, one part of the compass leg needs to be grounded and the other one can move to any amount of distance with joy and cheer. So I mean to talk about the empowered women who's at the epicenter, where the entire family can move around and the entire society can be at peace. So I would like to conclude and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Dr. Vijay, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. You started from quotes like, if we can, the woman who rocks the cradle rules the world. I would say, if we rock the cradle, we can rule the world also. So very beautifully you started from the examples, and then you mentioned about life skills and lovely references of educational movies, which are very, very important, because when students at any life, or I would say at any age, when they see movie, that impacts much stronger than a classroom learning also. So key and ka, and I see now we have almost we have over 100 people I saw in on the portal. There are some more references. There is one movie, Mary Kuti, that is on transgender. There is a movie on, the name is Mimi, which is on surrogacy of. So what I am wanting to mention specifically over here is these are the different dimensions of woman making herself powerful and making her livelihood also. So this is the status. Very beautifully you had been talking about the status of women, what we are, what we had been in the traditional years, conventional years, and where we are and why, what is the need of talking about such kind of things, women empowerment and all, why we have not achieved that. So when you are talking about reversal of role model, there is where we need to pay attention about that, why one sector of the society is playing different kind of role, although we consider that there are certain roles which are uh, provided to women by its nature. But when we reverse the role model, when we reverse the role, then see the output of the society. So this is where we need to pay attention. And you specifically mentioned about common man's observations. You said value education needs to be, value education is the ultimate solution also for holistic development. Very well said. And your examples of that how a woman elephant protects a small child, that is lovely example. Nurturing and transformation, from nurture to transformation, woman plays its role. Very well presented, Dr. Vijay. I congratulate you for your efforts, for your presentation. And uh, stay connected. There are some questions in the, there is one suggestion also, very well taken. One suggestion which is put up over there. So if any more questions are there, I think participants are allowed to be putting up their microphone and they can take up the questions as well. So there is a lot of appreciation for you. It was very inspiring, your presentation, wonderful sessions, and time management also is excellent. So time management is trying to tell us that we have taken 10 minutes more, but I wish to open the platform open for the discussion. So please, you can ask your questions. And I must say, as I was structuring this session, that economic uh, uh, aspect should be taken into consideration, social aspect should be taken into consideration, benefits, how education can benefit and how do we meet the challenges, and how woman plays its role in the family and feel empowered by playing its professional role, vocational role, and what society can be putting. So beautiful examples of movies are also given over here. So much of the content had been taken into consideration. Still, portal is open for further discussion. With the permission of Dr. Charan Singh, if any questions are there, we welcome the questions, and participants can please put on your microphone.
Thank you, madam. And may I ask a small question, please? I'm Professor Salma Begum. I know Priya
This is
for a long time.
Salma
Yes.
Begum. You can please ask your question, and the panelists
Right.
will be answering to that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Priya. It was a wonderful presentation indeed. And yes, a lot of things were covered, from workforce participation to female roles and entitlements. Yes, I agree with you completely that merely getting degrees is not education, and it is not empowerment. Most important, it's not empowerment. We also find that ladies, women who are not qualified in terms of the degrees that we speak about, have done tremendous roles, have taken up tremendous courage, which you have mentioned, courage to do things which they need to do, because situations are such that they have to take up leadership and they have to solve the problems. But I find, and it is a common observation, that patriarchy still rules, and more so, and it is universal. I would definitely like to say that patriarchy rules and it is universal. And however empowered we may consider ourselves or entitled we may consider ourselves, we are, in one way or other, sometime or the other, victims of patriarchy. I use the word. It may be a strong word, but I use this word because whatever we are, we somehow, sometime have to bow down to the pressures of the dominance at home or at workplace. It is my personal experiences also. So how do you think, apart from attitudinal change, which is very essential, I don't see this attitudinal change in 75 years, or it may not come even after 100 years. Any suggestions for this, Priya?
Good evening, Salma ma'am. It's nice to hear you. My senior teacher right here. I've learned a lot from you. Ma'am, I definitely accept whatever you stated right now, but I also want to pull up some instances now. Being a very progressive college located in a cosmopolitan, I have found that there are so many PG students of ours with all the survival of the fittest component, move around, be competitive, somehow get hardly placed into analytics or being a tax analyst and so on. But definitely we are in touch with them. After a point of time, post-marriage, it is a sad state of affairs that either in so-called modern society, either the man is addicted to some addictive habits, because of which she's not able to come, or it is probably the kind of pressure that she undergoes and she's not able to take the stress. In fact, I go with what you say because I have practically witnessed this. I get back to my passed out students regarding what they are doing, because always we get back on Alumni Connect. So I suppose this is a sad state of affairs. How to bring in attitudinal change? Definitely we have moved much forward and much progressive that we are, but even though the hard reality and the bitter truth is that there is definitely dominance, as you stated, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Salma Miss, I will just add to what Vijaya has said. She very beautifully has put up in her presentation that reverse role model. And I think motherhood can be doing all that attitudinal change. It's the motherhood which can be, playing its best role for bringing up their children with gender equality, and that's how we can probably, the attitudinal expected change in the society, we can move forward. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think you're speaking about the role of a mother in bringing up about the change. It's a very tall order, and it's very hard, Miss Mandeep, because I have worked in rural areas for a very long time, and I very closely I have seen the rural society and the preferences for boys and the partiality that is shown towards male children and how things are brought up. It is definitely changing. There's no doubt about it, but it is going to take a lot of time. And in
Yes.
this lot of time that we think of, many things are happening, and that we want a quick change. The societal change has to be quickened. The pace has to be very quick, so that the atrocities and abuses that women face in various forms, they have to either reduce, or they have to come to an end. And women should really take up cudgels. They should really take up a strong stance, which many of them are doing. Agree with you. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Mandeep,
ma'am. Taking up the leadership, taking up the women leadership will be most effective in such cases.
Mandeep
It's not
ma'am and
just
Salma
leadership, it's
ma'am,
much
if
more.
I'm permitted to say so, I just want to bring in one instance. This is, of course, at a very micro level, as Mandeep ma'am all has to start from motherhood. And I suppose even Salma ma'am agreed to it. But I just want to quote that, as when we keep chatting with our colleagues in college, I have definitely noticed over the last that my own colleagues as mothers ensure that their boy children take up household chores like washing vessels in the night is the boy's job, and probably dusting the house on a Sunday is also his job. So I definitely see, but to penetrate, as you all said, is definitely going to take a lot of time, but it's definitely happening in pockets and in regions here and there in a sporadic manner is what I would like to say.
Yeah, that's a good change. I agree with you. Thank you. Mandeep ma'am, I have posted a question for The other speaker, I think I
So,
have.
madam, yes,
Yes.
you are. If you can post that, if you can speak
I
out
have
that
done it. I
question.
have done it as soon as she finished her presentation. I have posted it. I
So,
think it's
Dr. Noor,
about.
if you can read in the chat, there is a question for you.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
may I
saying.
a little bit doubt I have, because women empowerment is not to, such kind of what she is telling, madam is telling. My gents are even boy and son is doing this job and that job. That is not the women empowerment. It is just you have to improve, and you have to improve the social status of the women. Not like if you are going to improve the women, then what about long period of time when is going to do all kind of household work? Then again we have to. So that is not the. Please don't make such kind of mistake. I request to you. Women empowerment is totally different, and you cannot relate with the men any kind of. Otherwise, again, it will become the inferiority or superiority. Women empowerment is not to show the women as a superior than men. Please, this is my humble request. Don't make such kind of, that the statement. Women empowerment is different, and there is a different kind of schemes or different kind of for the women empowerment. Please, this is my summary.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Your point is taken, well taken. The point which we are also discussing is women empowerment needs to be enhanced because there is gender inequality
Gender.
in the society, which
Yes.
is very prominent. So when we have
Yes.
gender inequality, we need to overcome gender inequality.
Yes.
So women empowerment will be taken into consideration.
Yes.
So, Dr. Noor, if you can read the
Yes,
question
ma'am.
for you, we are
Yeah.
already 20 minutes over
Yes,
the
yes.
session, so we
Quickly,
will
I will
try to.
answer that, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, what, in your opinion, can be done to change the cultural pressure of early marriage of girls in rural India? Yes, ma'am. So, this point I think I discussed. What is important here is creating an awareness to the parents as well as the girls the importance of educating women, correct, and making her prepared for any kind of tragedy or any kind of unforeseen thing which may happen to her life. To protect her, we need to do the marriage at the right time. So that awareness is important, and at a girl level as well as the parents level, some education awareness we can do it. If it is not working out, then government have come up with the norms also, like before the girl should be 18 years. Before that, if they get married, then it is considered as illegal. So those, if you try morally, we have to do it. If it is not happening legally, we have to do it. But it's the right time. We have to protect girls with early marriages and ensure that they get married in the right time. I think I answered your question, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Noor, for answering to this question.
Hello, ma'am, you are
Mandeep, ma'am, you
muted.
need to unmute yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you have to unmute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no.
sorry
The
for that.
reflex action.
So I wanted to specifically mention, as the topic was structured for today, educating women empowering women through education. So we were touching upon those angles, and as we structured that these are the aspects we should be talking about, we could do justice to today's time that had been spent by the participants. We had almost over 100 participants over here on this portal. I, on behalf of Dr. Charan Singh, we convey our heartfelt thanks for listening to these speakers. Dr. Noor has already put up her number and email on the chat. Anyone who wants to stay connected with her can be asking further more questions over there. And I am humbly thankful to Dr. Noor and Dr. Vijay for their participation and for well-designed presentations put up over here on this portal. Dr. Charan Singh, session is over to you, conveying my thank you to all participants and to all the presenters for today. Over to
Thank
Dr.
you so
Charan
much.
Singh.
Thank you so much, Professor Mandeep. Do you want to take a question from Dr. Runa Anand?
Is
We
that
could
put up
request
on
Dr.
the chat?
Dr. Runa Anand, if you can be brief and quick.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, I just want to just add something. Actually, we are getting confused in women empowerment. There is a, sir, very slightly difference between equality and equity. What I am emphasizing is that we should accept women with differences in equality, and equity is accepting that all disadvantage environment that women is facing to being equal to men. So we should also not forget to emphasize on the concept of equity in context of women empowerment. So this I just said I wanted to mention.
Sure, sure. You know that the understanding of women empowerment differs, and there are various versions, various aspects. When we started this webinar series, we had in mind various things ourselves, and that is emerging in every webinar. We wanted that if India has to grow, we looked at the literature from the IMF, and it said that if women get more participation in the labor force, economic growth will easily take place and will be much more supportive. Something which most of our speakers have mentioned, that if you educate a woman, you educate the nation effectively. But then the key thing that is involved in women empowerment is not competing in every family between, or a competition in every family between a man
लगता है
and a woman.
मैसेज
But
डिलीट करने का ऑप्शन भी डाला है
but I think the most important thing is promoting women's sense of self-worth. She can take her own decisions. When she is educated, she can earn an income, she can invest also. And if she is 21 like her brother, she can go and vote and decide whom to vote also, rather than being dictated that you have to vote for this person, you have to save in this thing. So, and their ability to determine their own choices basically, and the right to influence social change for themselves and others basically. So the women empowerment is basically raising the women's choices where she can express herself without male domination. So I think various people will have a different version, as we just saw Satyanarayan saying repeatedly saying that you are probably reducing the word to this or that. But as you are saying, Dr. Runanan, we all understand that women empowerment is not easy to define, and it has various aspects. Okay, so with this, I want to thank Professor Mandeep Kaur for having agreed to come and chair the session, as well as share her own research. The title of the webinar was chosen by Professor Mandeep, and something which she had mentioned to me early on. As progress is taking place, as women are entering the workforce, as women are getting higher and higher education, and climbing up the success ladder, a time comes when family obligations, especially motherhood, forces the women to look at education and sometimes prefer to come out of the corporate job and work in the education field.
Yes.
It's her choice, but there are challenges too. So I thank Professor Mandeep for having conceived this topic and suggested how we can go about. And Dr. Noor, whom I know since my Bangalore days, and Dr. Vijaya, again, whom I know I was at Mount Carmel a couple of times, courtesy Professor Vijaya, Priya. So all of you have shared your thoughts so beautifully, and I want to thank each one of you. We will have the recording tomorrow on our website. I would request you to use the website effectively, share with your friends, maybe with your other students, and maybe with your policymakers in your own state, so that we can, at the end of the day, make a dent and somehow a female labor force participation, a women empowerment improves, our growth towards development will be much faster and growth rate will be much higher. That is what we are aiming at. There's an important announcement that next week we have Dr. Pramod, who's director at Giri Institute at Lucknow. He will be making a presentation on the agriculture sector. Me and Professor Pramod have been talking about various things, how to increase agriculture in our country. And as you know, without agriculture, India cannot grow at least for the next 40, 50 years. Manufacturing and services have their own pace. So Dr. Pramod has beautiful ideas. I would invite you to please come and join and take advantage of that presentation also. Week after that, we have one author who has written the book Unstoppables, who has risen, a young lady who has risen through dint of hard work from very difficult situation to a very comfortable position now. She'll be sharing the contents of her book, basically narrating her own life pattern and how she took the challenges, what were the difficulties, and how she emerged. It'll be a very good, the book is Unstoppables, and I think it'll be a very educating journey for all of us. I want to now make one last announcement. I have been sharing this every time. We at EGROW Foundation think along with financial literacy, it's very important to have economic literacy. So what we are doing at EGROW, and I want each one of you to please take it seriously. At EGROW, we are running courses every evening, 8:30 to 9:30, talking about basics of economics. So we have every week a module, introduction to macro, important topics in the Indian economy, financial markets, and stress in the financial markets. So what I'm requesting each one of you, please look at the website of EGROW Foundation. We are doing these courses 8:30 to 9:30 online at zero cost. Zero cost means the students pay 500 per day or 2,500 for 6 hours. And that is, we give to the faculty who's also teaching. And who's the faculty? I can't imagine. I wish I was young today to enjoy what that faculty is. They are people retired from chief economist, SEBI, economics department, RBI, then serving professors at JNU, serving professors at Delhi University. 1 hour a month, they come and teach, all trying to give back to the society and at a very nominal rate. So just imagine in every nook and corner of our country, our young boys and girls, without challenging their professors, if our young boys and girls get to listen to these 30 people, just imagine how uplifted would their economic understanding. So I would invite you to look at the website and share it with your students. And I want the students from the remotest parts of our country to listen to these people. I know in Bangalore, Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai, we have the advantage of the best universities, and our faculty and students get to listen to all those people. But I have in mind remotest parts of India. I would like them to listen. I would like engineering students to listen, medical students to listen, the law who are doing all this law and commerce students to listen. And that's why I want you to help me spread the word so that far and wide we can spread economic literacy. With that, let me conclude and thank each one of you. Have a great weekend, and then we see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Charan Singh, to you and putting all the intellectuals together on this forum, and wishing EGROW Foundation a great success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir,
you.
for this opportunity. It was great session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charan sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mandeep ma'am. Thank you, Noor ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.